Here's the most painless explanation of Vanzan. So let's get into it. Assuming that we know all the key players, Jen worked for Stephanie from July 2020 to August 21st, 2024. Within that time frame, around August is when Stephanie started finding out that Jen was going to be leaving, Justin was going to be leaving with her, and then she, confiscated her phone, found all the text messages saying that Jen was talking to other employees about leaving and so forth. So Stephanie was ready for war. She was not having it. A little background on Vanzan. Vanzan was created back in 2010 by Eric Binder, the agent. So long story short, it ended up being discontinued in 2013. Then it got picked back up in 2019 and was signed as Ryan as like the chief executive, but Eric Binder was listed as the agent. Very important. Vanzan filed their lawsuit September 27th against 10 Jane Does, stating in one of their things, upon information and belief, the Doe defendants have certain contractual and confidential obligations and obligations of good faith and loyalty to the plaintiff. Vanzan. Right off the bat, this sticks out like a sore thumb because what do you mean Jane Does have some contractual obligation towards you, but you don't know who they are? Okay. They go on to state that, quote, at this time, plaintiff is not privy to the names or identities of the individual defendants, Jane Does 1 through 10.
I want names. I want to know who's responsible. I guess nobody's responsible. Guess I just had that one coming.
The factual background stated that upon information and belief, in or around August 2024, the Doe defendants breached the Doe duties by acting in a manner that was inconsistent with and damaging to the plaintiff's businesses. Okay, so that means that you would need to know who they are. Come on.
Be real.
This lawsuit is so painful, it's almost laughable. They said that in or around August 24, the Doe defendants became aware and failed to inform plaintiff about conduct by third parties. Well, if you don't know who these defendants are, so you can't put their names in this lawsuit, how are they supposed to let you know anything about the conduct of third parties? How?
Anything you need, just ask your Auntie Deb. That's me. Or if I'm not around, you can always talk to my sister, Flo. Hi, how are ya? Don't listen to anything my sister says. She's nuts.
Suddenly, December 19th, the lawsuit was discontinued. Here's where the tea gets hot. So, the very next day after Vanzan dropped their lawsuit, Blake filed her CRD complaint. I wonder why she was able to do that. Could it have been that Stephanie Jones had colluded with Blake Lively's team to get a Vanzan lawsuit up and going? That way they had a paper trail showing that she legally obtained the text messages. Because yes, Stephanie Jones does legally have an employee contract where she can go through her employee's phone during the time of employment. But what she can't do is give a third party those text messages unless she was issued a subpoena. The subpoena, she doesn't have to fight. The very next day, the New York Times article. They note the CRD complaint that Blake filed yesterday at the time of posting this, but they say she filed it Friday. Why didn't you want to say yesterday? Oh, it's because down here, you say her filing included experts from thousands of pages of text messages and emails she obtained through a subpoena. They also noted that the CRD complaint is a precursor to a lawsuit. The same day that they posted the New York Times article, they also posted a copy of the CRD complaint. But here's the thing. My eagle eye spotted something that was missing from this document, the court stamp. So here's where things get even more interesting. The metadata on the New York Times article shows that they started working on the article December 10th, which lands us 9 days before Vanzan dropped their lawsuit.
That is awful.
2 days after the New York Times article, a content creator that's followed by Ryan Reynolds started posting pro-Blake content. The very next day, Stephanie Jones filed her lawsuit. You notice how this is going bam, 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 bam? Like trying to rile up the public to believe all of this is true. We're just flooding the gates right now. At first, the lawsuit started out strong. She stated that Jen and Melissa secretly conspired for months to publicly and privately attack Jones and Jones' work, to breach multiple contracts and, try to take clients and employees. Here's where Stephanie starts to tell on everybody, because in the lawsuit, it states that they're also going after Jane Doe's 1 through 10. That sounds familiar. Stephanie claims that Jane Doe's 1 through 10 are the unknown individuals who created and published multiple websites about Stephanie. Again, I ask, if you don't know who created a website, how do you even know that there's 10 individuals to go after? Just ask it. And here is when the lawsuit completely crumbles. She went from talking about, hey, here's my issues with Jen and Melissa, to here's all the issues going on with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni and that whole fiasco. None of this has anything to do with her claims. Like, keep it to your business of, hey, Jennifer left, she wanted to take my clients. Like, that's its own separate issue. But the fact that you're bringing Blake Lively and It Ends With Us into all of this and having the Jane Does, to me, screams planned and you guys colluded together. That's my opinion, and that's how all of this comes across. Because why are you even mentioning a scenario plan for Justin? That has nothing to do with Stephanie Jones. Has nothing to do with Melissa or Jen allegedly trying to take your clients, take your employees, or talking bad about you. That has nothing to do with that. This is them just doing their job. So again, it only points to one thing. When Jen left, she thought that if she changed her phone number, Stephanie wouldn't have access to her data anymore. She was mistaken because her cloud is the one that was storing her data. And Jen still had access to that until January 2025. Jen claimed that Stephanie had been intercepting and monitoring her text messages to everyone, not just clients, her fiance, her doctors, her parents, and friends. 1 week after Stephanie filed her lawsuit, Blake filed her lawsuit against Justin. And this time we had a court stamp. In Blake's lawsuit, she states that, quote, Mr. Baldoni commented on how much he liked her outfit, which flustered Miss Lively. That flustered you? Why? They go on to say that later that day, Justin pressured Blake to remove her coat in front of the entire crew. You mean this coat? Yeah, take it off. This entire thing, it's ugly. It had nothing to do with whatever you had underneath. No, it was, this whole thing is ugly. Let's try to fix it, but I'm trying to be nice. Then she goes, consistent with past practice, he said, I think you look sexy. And then obviously she's uncomfortable, and she said, that's not what I was going for. And he replied, I'm sorry, hot. Now, like, with these kind of text messages of you saying ball busting and you said sexy yourself, what is this? Really? Like, this is what we're going to bring a lawsuit about? I don't think so.
Do you think that could happen?
In the latest filing from Jen, she stated that Vanzan basically subpoenaed Stephanie Jones, but they were asking for information pertaining to It Ends With Us, which they quote, none of which are even remotely referred in the complaint filed by Vanzan, which it wasn't. So again, think it's interesting that that keeps getting brought up. Then down here, she states that Vanzan is basically saying that they're only going to give information about what happened after filing their lawsuit, nothing before filing, which makes no sense because we need to know why you filed in the first place, why you put them as Jane Doe and not naming them if you clearly knew who they were, and now why you're bringing It Ends With Us up when that had nothing to do with the lawsuit. I read you what their lawsuit was about. It had nothing to do with It Ends With Us. So here's my theory. Jen left in August. Stephanie was mad. She was fuming. So she reached out to Leslie. Well, Leslie already had all the flame going on of the backlash from Blake Lively and the whole PR and marketing disaster of It Ends With Us. So they decided, let's collude together. They brought out the Vanzan that they've just been having on a shelf, brought that out, put out this lawsuit. That way they had a paper trail to show, yes, Stephanie legally gave the text messages because she was subpoenaed. So that way, cover her butt there. They give them all the text messages. They go through it all. Blake gets all the evidence that she needs to file her CRD complaint. And then from there, they flood the gate.